You couldn't make it up, could you? Well, you could, but you wouldn't want to. AFC Bournemouth have got an injury crisis. Truth be told, we've had one for quite a while, but because Iraola is a master of his trade, no one's been talking about it, with the Cherries going on a run of 8 games unbeaten in the Premier League. But my God, the last couple of days have been huge for us, and not in a good way. With the news yesterday that Evanilson has fractured his metatarsal, he's going to be out for around, 2 to 3 months. And today, the confirmation that his understudy, Enes Unal, has torn his ACL in training. My God, there's us going on about European tours and getting your passports out. Maybe we mean it. Maybe it's tongue-in-cheek. But either way, it all now feels a little bit redundant to even flirt with the E word given Bournemouth's injury plight. This thing, for now, I'm going to forget about it because it leaves Bournemouth without a natural striker. Sure, Daniel Jefferson's loan at Watford is seemingly coming towards an end, and striker is the word that's on his CV, but look, we've seen very little of him in a Cherry shirt, and from Watford fans that have been saying they were notably not impressed. So what options has Iraola got ahead of, firstly, a third round outing in the FA Cup against West Brom? Not only that, but a challenging run of Premier League fixtures ahead. I think probably one of our hardest runs if you take a look at the league positions of the teams we're facing. There's only one saving grace here, of course, and that's the fact that these injuries happened in January, when the transfer window is open and at a time where we actually do have a few options. Second, actually, thinking about it, it's not a bad thing to have happened whilst Bill Foley's actually here in the UK, because he's been in and around Dean Court since Christmas. He's been seen on AFCB TV chatting to our new signings, and he'll be seeing Andoni fairly regularly, I'm sure. So I think the level of concern on Iraola's face will probably be tangible for him, and that will perhaps underline that we really do need to make some movements in the transfer window. But given the FFP/PSR constraints, you wonder what we can do, because it sounds like we are walking a little bit of a tightrope at the moment. Of course, we've spent money on Julio Soler. There's a video to come out on him in the next couple of days. So it might mean that a loan might be the only feasible option to try to get us back up to the level that Iraola will want us to be at. Or maybe it's a case that we'll just need to look from within. I think Andoni told the media recently that his main worry with this window was recovering players who are injured, not necessarily the players that we might be able to get through the door. He said we need to be smart when addressing the transfer window. And there seemed to be a little bit of a calmness about what he was saying at the time, but I'm sensing now that's probably changed somewhat. But what returns could we have? Well, look, some players are already on the grass going outside, training on their own, including Adam Smith, Marcus Tavernier. Alex Scott, I think, was pictured with his snood pulled up, but it doesn't exactly solve our up-front crisis, does it? I think Luis Senstera might be close, and he could be back soon, and he has filled that role previously. And what about from those that are fit? Semenyo, can he do a job up front? It's not really worked when he's done it before. I know Dango Ouattara's played there before too. And the thing is, it's more about the role than the numbers. If someone is capable, then we know that from our team, goals can come from all over. And they usually do. Brooks can hopefully continue to step up. We know that Justin Kluivert is always good for a few. Howson's always a threat from corners, for instance. And we know also that Phil Bill can play the number 10 role. Maybe he can chip in with goals like he used to previously. I think it's also worth considering that it must be remembered that our most enjoyable win of the season actually saw us score 3 goals without a striker on the pitch. I think Evanilson was subbed after about 65 minutes against Everton. So Iraola, I'm sure, will have some kind of plan in the back of his mind should we not get a replacement in, albeit we've got to remember also that we cannot play the Toffees every week. It doesn't always work like that. But like I said, I think it's interesting about the absence of Evanilson, because for me, the gravitas and importance of it is bigger than the statistics he brings in terms of goals, because what has he scored? 5? played 19. As I said on the second look when we recorded it on Monday, some people, I think, if you said at the start of the season that by January Evanilson's going to be on 5 goals, I think a lot of Cherries fans would be maybe underwhelmed. But it's not the goals that we love him for. It's the link-up play, the work rate, the explosiveness, the holding up of the ball, the bullishness, and the assists that have been absolutely huge for us. He got 3 assists in 1 game alone. And I think as such, after his loss, or even when he hasn't been available earlier in the season through injury or whatever, Enes Unal filling his shoes, I think made Cherries fans a little bit nervous because his minutes have been fairly limited and his showings have been pretty temperamental. But after that free kick against West Ham and also, of course, the Ipswich goal as well, albeit it came off the defender. And as Tom said on the recent show, he's shown that he is slowly growing in to his role. He is not anything like whatever is, but he can do a job there. So for him now to be out as well is painful to say the least. We've got men out on loan, of course, namely Hamed Traore, who is ripping it up for Auxerre in League One, who I'm sure will potentially be in the thoughts of Frano and Thiago Pinto. However, there's a double-edged sword there, because whilst he's doing well, keeping his value high, is it worth bringing him back to potentially hamper that? Not least considering he's never really settled at Bournemouth and his performances have shown that he's been quite unsettled. So maybe it's got to be the loan movements. That might need to happen. It was reported unofficially that Bournemouth made an initial inquiry to sign Brighton's Evan Ferguson. Scored a few goals for them, including a couple of a big goal in particular, I think against Manchester City. But profile-wise, he's certainly got the attributes and the athleticism to sort of do a job. He's in that same mould, but we'd be joining West Ham and Stuttgart in the race to sign him. And it's been a sort of tricky last 18 months for what was an Irish international, of course, but there's nothing cast iron in that. So be really interesting to see what movements we make. And I think the business that we do will probably be indicative of what we want to achieve this season. I mean, look at the table. Ultimately, we are safe already. And I know it's a couple of million, 2.5 million per Premier League position. And Bill Foley could easily just think, screw it, and let Iraola manage the situation, and we could see the season out in 12th, 13th, 14th. But I'm assuming he won't want to, because Foley's mission, we all know, is to always advance, never retreat. And through being here in Bournemouth, I think he'll know and feel the gravitas of the situation more than he can on any Zoom call. So it is a blessing in disguise, as I said earlier, that he's down here. We've said time and time again that Bournemouth's profile and stature as a club is rising. We've got a board and a recruitment team who know the way we want to play. We've got a scouting network that adheres to that. And we've got the manager to deploy it. And we're reaping the rewards. We're getting results against the likes of Arsenal, Man City. We're beating Spurs. We're smashing Man United. And we're a team who are being noticed. And we've got a manager now that can attract players. We had that under Eddie. We never really had it in between that. We had to flash the cash quite a lot to lure them in. But I think now with Andoni, we're signing players who know how we want to play. They know all about what we've got happening off the pitch in terms of the training ground and hopefully potential new stadium. It's a really positive place to be at the moment. But we've got to acknowledge the fact that players, when they put pen to paper, it's not because they want to play here for years and years to come and they want to end their careers here. Not a chance. We are a stepping stone and we know that, and we're a good place for young European talents to be seen and then move on with the club hopefully reaping the rewards of the cash that they'll generate. I mean, for instance, will Kirkes be with us after this season? Probably not. That's why we're signing the likes of Julio Soler. Will Zabani? Who knows? But the levels that we're at means that conveyor belt is moving faster. They'll arrive at Dean Court and they'll leave the door at Vitality at a much quicker rate, I think, than we've ever had before. And this puts massive pressure on Simon Francis and Thiago Pinto. But I think for me, the kind of dilemma, and I don't know what it is for them, but for us fans, we're probably in the best ever position that we've ever been in as a football club. And the conversations that we as fans are having are a bit akin to the England fans singing "It's Coming Home." It's kind of like, well, we could, but will we? But as the season's gone on, and as England have done in sort of major tournaments, the more they, get through the knockout stages, there's a growing sense that this season we've got our peak chance, our peak opportunity to achieve what we want to achieve in Europe. I think Foley said, 5 years or something like that? It's happening after, 2? Which is mad. And with the players that we've got at the moment that all know the system and players that we could lose, it's kind of, for Foley, it's a stick or twist dilemma right now. But we've got to consider that FFP and PSR will ultimately be what determines our every move. So watch this space. January is going to become very interesting. I really want to know your thoughts on the kind of players that we should be looking to attract, what we'll miss from not having Evanilson in, because I think some fans, a small selection of fans, are seeing his goal return and thinking, well, why will you miss him, Cherries fans? We certainly will, but Unal as well. It is really not an ideal time for us, and I'm just going to kind of park any mentions of the E word for now, and just hope that the recruitment team and Iraola and everyone can come together and find a solution to keep us going this season, because look, we're having such a good time, and it's been the best half season that I've ever experienced as a Cherries fan. We just want it to continue. We're understandable that it might not, but we'll see what happens. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Does Foley stick or twist? Up the chairs.